welcome everyone to Saturday Morning Brew and Chat. I am Patricia Botero Saint-Jean. I'm the founder of Open for Business, which is a business research lab and a coaching agency. Essentially what I do is I help people in the early stage research of and vetting and planning and launching of the most ideal business for them, which is the business that's going to help them create the life they love. So that's why we're here. But, I'm not an expert in everything. So I bring experts who can help you once you've picked the right business for yourself. They can help you really make that business successful. And one of these key elements that we have as business owners is the big marketing of marketing. I mean, it's one of the most vital branches of small business or any business, but especially small business ownership. And I see so many people who do it wrong. It breaks my heart because there's definitely a right way and a wrong way to do marketing. The wrong way is the way where you spend a ton of money chasing the wrong customers and really not getting the results you want. I know because I've been there. 35 years ago, I started a business, and I think I've made every mistake under the sun about marketing, and I'm still learning today, thanks to Heather. And Heather is a guest today. She's our guest speaker, and she has been marketing her whole life, first with big, large corporation, multi-billion-dollar corporation, right? And your specialty is branding and creative problem solver, digital marketing, and of course, you're an avid eternal optimist, an avid gardener, and I know the occasional farmhouse. So
every so often. So just know it might get PG-13 here, guys. So just. Okay. Yes.
So, but Heather founded the agency called Double Dutch Creative in 2014 after a successful career leading branding, marketing, and strategic communication programs for multi-billion-dollar companies. So you've been on both sides. You've worked with large corporations, and now you work with small to mid-sized enterprises, business owners, right? And you help them with their marketing. So Heather is here today to give us her pro tips about marketing and how to do it in the right order. And her topic is 5 mistakes even small entrepreneurs make. And stay until the end, because at the end she's going to have a gift for you that you can another mini course that you can learn and take with you home, but we'll also forward it to you by email too. So
yeah, and so what Patricia doesn't know is I actually have 6 marketing mistakes that even smart entrepreneurs make. So there's one more, because I just remembered one that I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to make sure I put that in. And this really came from when I started, when I was running marketing at big companies, I grew up in companies, hiring agencies, working with agencies, implementing programs in-house. And then when I started to work with different size, it doesn't even matter, big or small, entrepreneurial and other big companies, I started to realize when people got stuck in marketing, they got stuck in the same places. And I thought they just do not know the sequence. And so that is exactly, because it also breaks my heart when I see anyone get overwhelmed by marketing, because it just does not have to be that way. So I prepared a presentation, so I'm going to go ahead and I got to get my glasses on 1 second. I would love to share my screen and pop this up. Alrighty, I just want to confirm, just thumbs up, you can see my screen.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, great. And Patricia, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to learn a little bit more about this crew on the call today, and I'm just so honored to spend my Saturday morning with you today. So without further ado, today we're going to talk through the 6 marketing mistakes that even smart entrepreneurs make, but I'm going to also tell you exactly how to avoid them. And I'm going to give you real tips that I use in my agency with my real clients to solve their real problems. So I always like to start off with just reminding ourselves, like, we're here for a reason. Maybe we want to start or grow a business. Maybe we're looking for more sales or more customers. We all know that we want to make a difference and have impact. And we know that marketing, we know this fundamentally, that marketing can help with all of this. And the way that I like to think about marketing is it's really your money guy in your business, because you have your brand, which is your core essence. You have advertising and promotion, which is getting the word out. And the marketing is literally the path that someone starts on and walks down all the way through to the transaction. So I really am unapologetically focusing marketing. And I call it the money guy because we all know that you need to have a profitable business to be sustainable. So I always want to be very, very clear about this. And even though we know that marketing helps, we're wondering what gets in the way. So when I work with people, they usually fall into a few camps. There are people, who are dreaming of starting their business, but when they start thinking of all the stuff that they have to get together, logos, messaging, a website, it literally makes them feel like their head is going to pop off. And they're wondering, where in the world do I even start? Or they might be someone who's been in business for a while, maybe for a couple of years, and they're taking action but they're just not getting traction. They're working so hard to create and produce more, but they're just not getting sales on the other side. And this just kills me because they wonder, am I doing something wrong? Oh, that just that literally can bring a tear to my eye. Or people feel like marketing is way more of a struggle than a strategy. And you're sitting there looking around, just like literally agonizing over every decision you need to make from a marketing perspective. And it just looks like everyone around you is just doing it effortlessly, like boom, boom, boom. They have it all together. And you are sitting there wondering, what is their secret? Or you might be that you knew marketing would be hard work, but you did not think it was going to be like this. And when you start to really think about, all the things that, again, like social media, video, podcast, blogging, it sometimes feels so overwhelming. You just feel like you're going to throw in the towel and you're like, who am I to do this? So does anyone, I don't know if anyone relates, put it in the chat if you can relate to any of those feelings. I think I've had all of those feelings, especially transitioning from a corporate career that you think you're going to transition right from a successful career into a successful business. And it just becomes a lot more personal too. So I was a little surprised by that. So I just want to tell you, if you feel any of these ways around marketing, it is not your fault, because rarely, unless you actually have done marketing or went to school for marketing, it's not like you wouldn't know something that you haven't been trained in. You wouldn't expect a baby, like we don't look at a baby learning how to walk and just say, God, baby, you're so dumb. Like, how do you not know how to walk yet? We obviously support that baby, and we give the baby encouragement. When they fall down, we pick it up and give it support. And so that's how it is with marketing too. A lot of times we feel, because we're so surrounded by it, I think we're inundated with more than 10,000 marketing messages a day. We have it on our phones, on social media. We're constantly being marketed to, that I think we feel like we need to know, we should intrinsically know how to do it. And there is a craft, and you'll hear me say a million times, marketing is not rocket science, but there is a definite process and sequence to it. And when you get that process right, this is what it feels like. And when you get the process wrong, it is the perfect recipe for marketing mayhem. And so what you need to know, and here is the honest to God truth. This is from someone who has nearly 30 years of experience in branding or marketing. You simply need to know the core marketing fundamental skills that are so fundamental to any profitable and sustainable business. You don't need to do a TikTok video. I'm going to give you don't need to do anything like that. But when you really need to master those core marketing skills, you might find oftentimes when I work with clients or people who went through my course, I don't think that there's ever been one person I've worked with who hasn't ended up doing less because they were just doing too much marketing and a lot of it wasn't working, to Patricia's point earlier. And what that looks like from my perspective is it sort of runs through this sequence, which is you untap your authentic voice, right? And your differentiators in the market. You want to inspire your customers. You want to be intentional with every single thing that you do in marketing. You never want to wing it. You want to make sales and create impact, rinse and repeat, grow your business, untap your voice, inspire customers, intentionally grow your business, make sales, create impact, right? And just see it grow and grow and grow and grow. And you can do this, I'm telling you, even if you're not creative or even if you're brand new, if you really know the sequence. A lot of times people think, Patricia, do you think people think that they really need to be creative or artistic to be good at marketing?
I think they do. They believe they have to.
Yeah. And you don't have, I'm going to tell you, you don't have to. You seriously just have to know the sequence, because I know some people who are terribly uncreative and don't even have I love beautiful form and function. So I like everything to perform really well and also look beautiful at the same time. But I know some people who have great marketing programs, and their stuff doesn't look great, but they understand the sequence and they've really perfected what it looks like. So I'm not gonna make you wait anymore. But the sequence is number one, unapologetically own and own what makes you different, how you uniquely create value. That is your number one starting point. And this is like the number one construct of your brand, is really knowing who you are, how you stand out in the market, who you want to serve, how you're different, and why people should care. The next is you absolutely must know your customers and who you want to invite into your business, because it's not just everybody. Patricia and I were talking today about clients that we love to work with, that if all of our clients could be like these clients, you know, that's who we would love to invite into our business. And just simply by articulating that and being sensitive to that and putting out that energy, we also create the energy that invites and attracts those people to our business. So I spend a lot of time, I love it when my clients or my students at any time are like, I said no to this client because I knew that they were not a good fit for my business. I'm like, you have matured in your business, Grasshopper, when they have one of those moments. I'm very much about pricing for a premium. That has been, my background has been in luxury consumer goods. And so I'm very comfortable playing in that space and helping people price on value. And I don't mean price on value as in a value to a consumer, but price on their value so they can command a premium pricing and product lineup that your customers can't wait to buy. You got to have a good website that's built for conversion, even if the conversion is simply to call you for a consultation or to learn a little bit more. But if you're doing any sort of business online, you want to make sure that your website is built to convert website visitors either to people who are on your list and eventually to real paying customers to your business. And then last but not least, I alluded to this at the very beginning, you must have your core marketing program in place. And this is what it looks like in sequence. And this is the exact sequence that I use at my agency when I'm working with someone. Even if someone is coming to me, an existing company, they have an existing brand construct, we always start with a little bit of brand discovery. And we always start with a little bit of brand validation. And then sometimes we start with a blank slate where we're actually creating that brand from scratch, which is like the best part. It's the most fun. And in fact, the branding is so important. You can see how it runs foundational to everything else that comes after. It's so important that sometimes I'll have clients come to my agency or like, I don't think I need that branding stuff, or I've already done that work. And I'm like, oh no, like, it's not even a negotiable. It's definitely something that, you know, they have to, I will not work with them if we cannot absolutely really define and or validate their brand. Then it's your customers, product and pricing lineup, conversion focused website, core marketing program. Now you can do your social media. A lot of people start with social media, and that is number 6 on my list. So I think about this like a 5-rung ladder. So if there are basically 5 rungs to get up to the top of a roof to say, hey, everybody, I'm open for business, about 90% of entrepreneurs that I meet who are overwhelmed with marketing are literally missing these first 3 pieces. Almost always, they are missing these first 3 pieces. They may have a sort of idea about it. They may get lucky every so often, but they do not know. So imagine trying to climb up to a ladder and now you're trying to grab onto that 4th rung. You might be able to get up to the roof, but you're not gonna be able to get down and back up again very easily. You know what I mean? So it's so much better when you just do everything in context. And when you don't have these core foundational elements in place and you start with your website, all right, that's great, but is it really built to build your business? Is it built to connect with your customers? Does it lead someone down the marketing path to the transaction? Usually from a content perspective, this is when you're sending out, I put stuff, but you know, if I could say the S word here, I would, because you're just sort of managing and putting something out because you're just sort of trying to figure out what is going to stick, what is going to work. And you're just probably at this point working too much when you don't need to. And then I don't even know what you call advanced marketing when you don't have, and to do blogging or anything more like, especially any sort of paid advertising without having a good construct for your brand. It's just so unbelievably risky from a marketing perspective. And so you'll also hear me say my other, you know, I can't say like I'm necessarily the most eloquent, but I want to get the point across, which is when you know where you're going, it's so much easier to get there. And so that's why understanding the sequence is so important. And when I start to work with marketing, where I start to see people getting overwhelmed with marketing, these are the 6 mistakes that I see most common. And then when we're able to get them back on track into the sequence, I'm going to tell you something, even if they've been in business for a few years, it's not painful taking a step back to those foundational elements. It literally gets them back on track. And if they've been in business, they also have a lot of context. So it really eliminates a lot of noise and just helps to really clear the path so they know exactly where they need to go. So without further ado, here are the 6 biggest mistakes I see people make, and of course, how to avoid them, because I'm not going to leave you guys hanging. So number 1, I call shiny object syndrome. So this is how it shows up, and we probably have seen people like this. Patricia and I are part of this online community, and people chase the latest and greatest. They rush to try the latest marketing tactic or guru. These are people who all of a sudden are trying to figure out TikTok. And you're like, does that even make sense for your business? Like anytime someone calls me and they're like, Heather, I'm going to do TikTok. What do you think? The very first question I ask is, well, to what end? What is your goal? And so if they can't answer, that usually tells me that they're a victim of the shiny object syndrome. And it is so tempting because it gives you the illusion of productivity, but it also helps to create spin. And this is why it's risky. Number 1, it spreads your marketing usually way too thin, thinner than you need it to be. Usually people need like 2 or 3 channels that are really going to be their core channels. And if you're chasing after anything, it's just going to spread you too thin. Usually people are not, when they're in this excitement, it tends to be emotional. So they're not measuring all in the results. They don't even know if their customers are there, right? So someone called me who is so not a TikTok person, like their business doesn't make sense for TikTok, but they thought, oh, I should be there. And I'm like, but are your customers there, right? Number 1 question. And then I always say a channel created is a channel managed. So I'm very sensitive, even with social media channels. Sometimes people think that they need to be on Facebook and Pinterest and Twitter and Instagram. And I'm like, start with 1. Get really, really, really good at that and see if you even need another one, right? A lot of times, again, we do too much. And anytime we create a marketing channel, then we have to manage it. And I think we've all been on Facebook pages or social media pages where someone started and they stopped, or someone blogged and then they haven't blogged since like 2014. And that is just not I think it's such a buzzkill from a customer perspective. So the number 1 fix for this is you must always tie your marketing in. You have to know your long game. You have to tie it to a business goal. And you might think that is so obvious, but so many people just do not even make that connection to a business goal. So I always ask these questions. What is my long game? How will this advance my business? How will this help me grow my list, get more customers, get more sales, right? If you cannot answer even sort of a BS question, like, how many likes do I want to get? Like something that's not even going to drive a transaction. You have to be able to have an answer to that question. And if you can't, then I want you to take that marketing tactic and I want you to write it on a Post-it note and put it someplace where you may get to it someday when you're able to measure it and connect it to a business goal. But if you're not, please just don't do it. You will be wasting your time. And that's where, especially if you're spending money. Are my customers where I want them, in this new channel? And if they're not, again, have the discipline to focus on where they are. So many people flood into Facebook because Facebook is so popular, and Facebook does not make sense for every single business. Ask yourself, what's the payoff of marketing here? What do I think I'm going to get, right? This is where we're starting to think about the outcome and measurement. Then can I commit? Can I add another channel? Can I really do this the way that it needs to be managed? And then how will I know I'm successful? You must also have some sort of metric. Again, even if it's a little bit of a BS metric to get you there, you must have a metric. If you cannot answer this question too, put it on a Post-it note, put it to the side, keep it there to see if there's a way that you can eventually have it go through this sequence. So connect your business to your long game. This is the number 1 secret of marketing. People think I'm a genius, but I'm really not. We simply find what works and we do more of that, and we find what doesn't work and we stop doing that. It's not, again, I told you, it's not rocket science, and I absolutely 100% mean that. I absolutely 100% mean that. Okay, mistake number 2, they were someone else's marketing as a mask. And so I see this often when people are new in their business A lot of times when people are transitioning from corporate into entrepreneurialism, they had all this sort of confidence and swag within the corporate environment, and now they're sort of free floating out here, and they don't feel confident in their voice. And they start looking at influencers or other people in the space, and they start to copy or emulate their look and feel a little too much. They might be copying their marketing tactics, emulating things that they're doing and marketing programs that they're doing, but it never feels quite right. And this is why this is so risky. When things don't feel right, that energy comes through. So if you really don't feel centered in your business and in your brand and in your voice and in your messaging, and you're sort of wearing someone else's messaging or using it, it's gonna come through in some way, shape, or form in your business. It just will. It's gonna be that one thing that's gonna sort of hold you back. It is so risky to emulate anyone else in this space because you have no idea of their business goals. You don't even know if what they're doing is working for them. It's so also very risky to copy someone else. And then you're letting them set the tone for your own business, and you're just giving way too much power to them. Most importantly, you forfeit the opportunity for people to get to know the real you. So the fix for this is to find your voice. So you want your customers, like when you're communicating with them, to feel like they are talking to you, like that you are literally sitting across the table from them and they're having a conversation with you, even if it's something that you've written. And so I always tell my clients, this is such an amazing hack. Record yourself on a video and ask yourself these 3 questions. What pisses you off? Like, what gets you so mad? What opinion do you think is missing in this world? Where are there gaps in what's out there? What perpetuates the overwhelm? What is no one talking about that you think everyone should know? You know, just these things get you really riled up, and just know that no one's going to see this, that this is perfectly for you, and just go on a little bit of a rant. Then I want you to ask this question: what makes your heart break? So Patricia and I both today were talking about different parts when we see people struggle or see people overwhelmed, how it literally breaks our hearts, right? And so really tap into that side of you that you're like, oh my gosh, if I could change this for every single person. Like seriously, if I could just show people, every single person, this marketing sequence, because no one's talking about it, 85% of the marketing advice out there will just perpetuate the spin, like if you're looking for advice, and that's where I get all feisty, and it breaks my heart because I see good people who are overwhelmed, who are spending money, who are burning out, and who don't start or they quit. Oh, and that breaks, it literally breaks my heart. Then I want you to think about what makes you so excited in life that you wish that life really was like a musical. We are in just an unprecedented time of change. It's scary, but it's, I think more often, at least the way I think about it, this is going to bring forward beautiful and great and significant change. And what does that look like when we think about all the possibility or what could be? You know, just, it makes me so excited. Like, so just think about what makes you so excited. If connecting this to your business is hard, start off something easy. I just did a video like this of what pisses me off because my family, when the dishwasher is empty, they don't put dirty dishes in the dishwasher. And when the dishwasher is full, they don't empty it. And they just leave dishes like piling up everywhere. And that gets me so mad. Like, I mean, that really, I was just so mad. I almost took a picture of it yesterday with my husband. I was like, this is what I mean. I wanted to show like the open dishwasher and then all the dirty dishes. Like, I'm like, So just start even with something like that. Let's say you just, like one of your kids had a grandchild and you are just loving that baby so much and that makes you so happy. Just record that, right? So you just go through, ask yourself these questions, work or personal, whatever makes the most sense. And then I want you to describe it. I love this app called Descript. Just go to Descript.com. I think there's a free version up to a certain number of hours of transcription, but it's just a great tool if you're doing any sort of online video or Facebook Lives. It's really cheap. This is not a plug. I just love the platform. But you can pop up these videos on Descript, and then you have a transcript of how you really talk, of what gets you going. You're going to start to catch catchphrases and things that you say or different themes, and that is going to help you. And do this over and over and over again. This kind of exercise is going to help you find your voice. Like, I would do this every day, honestly, for 30 days and see how you improve, see what you say. You're going to have a lot of tagline, little different things that will come out that then you'll be able to use in your own content. So you don't have to wear anyone else's marketing as a mask. And the moral of this story is that real people buy from real people. So keep it real, like real to yourself and your essence. You don't need that marketing mask. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I wore a marketing mask of marketing and of my agency. So even though I know this too, I've done many, I will fully admit, I've done many of these same mistakes, but I've never done this one. Discount my pricing. Oh my gosh, people discount their pricing thinking it's going to generate more business. Okay, so again, I play in the premium space. Why this is risky is it immediately erodes your value proposition, especially in this kind of realm. We're working with coaches, consultants. I mean, I hate to say you guys are small business owners because your businesses are significant, but it starts to erode your value proposition. If I were to submit a proposal at my agency for $20,000 and my client said, I only have $15,000, and I said, oh, okay, that's fine, I'll give it to you for that. No, I'm definitely taking $5,000 of value out of that proposal because I want to make sure that I'm maintaining my value proposition. The second you backtrack on price like that, you will just lose it. You train your customers to buy only when there's a discount. And I'm going to tell you this, like 100,000% deal seekers are always more demanding than people who pay full price. You would think it would almost be the exact opposite because you think like fancy people or people who pay full price are like going to have like this level of expectation. But the thing is deal seekers are rarely appreciative of the deal they get and they're hard to work with. And you leave money on the table. And that is no good. So how you fix this is don't discount, okay? So when I work with clients on our pricing and product lineup, we start with, we have some sort of general idea of what does the market support, but then we start to figure out how do we price on value? Because your experience and reputation, that means something and that's worth something. Your expertise and skill that you bring, your ability to get something done, your ability to make impact in someone's life or at a business, or help someone scale something, take them to the next level, that is worth something. How reliably you deliver is worth something. And then you want to take this and then create an experience that warrants a premium price, right? So you figure out, where do I want to start? How can I add on value? And I work with clients all the time. Like, I'll just give you a quick example. I have this, a therapist. She's young. She just graduated, I guess, from a therapy school. So she's like 29. And the going hourly rate for a therapist right out of school is $95 an hour. And we live in Denver, which is a very, very affluent market. She's a very cool person. And I was like, I would love to get you up to like, how would you feel if we started to charge $125 an hour? And I thought she was like, there's no way I can raise my prices by like 30%. She's like, I don't even have experience. And this is what the market is. And I'm like, okay, what can we do to make you feel comfortable, charging $125? So she has a meditation component that she built into her practice. It's part of what she does. And so we've created these meditations that she does just monthly, and they go out to all of her clients. And that is just a little value add that she has. It makes her feel comfortable charging that money. We put it, another secret is to put it on a price sheet, like to make a formal price sheet and to formalize your pricing. And then I said, the next person who comes in, who is a brand new client to you, I want you to say your hourly rate is $125 an hour. And she did, and that person didn't even bat an eye. And so just by adding in a little bit of value into her service offering, which was already high value, she's making 28-ish, but like 30% more without working another hour, without spending any money on advertising, without hiring a marketing firm, without doing social media. She's simply doing that by adding more value to the experience. So that is just, I have so many ways that we can just juice the experience to make you feel so comfortable commanding a premium price. So the moral of this story is find your value, then create a valuable experience, and then even add more value. So you can really make sure that if you're charging top dollar, I want you to feel comfortable charging it. And I want your customers to feel so happy that they're getting a great value paying for it. Mistake number 4 is that they literally take a fire hose and they're like, these are all my features. Like all my features. Like it's just almost too much. It's like benefit feature. This is what I do. This is what I get. I get like, it's just like a fire hose. And I think we've been with these people who feel like they just have so much to prove in their marketing. And why this is risky is when you just throw out everything that you can possibly do and all of your expertise and all of your, services and everything like that, and you're not tying it to someone's problem and how it solves that problem, you right there are creating the scenario that you are making it your customer's problem to figure out what to do with you. You're putting them in this position of deciding, does this person fit or do they not fit? When you start to list a bunch of features, this is just how our brain works. Like when you have a list of features or benefits or like capabilities, and it's not balanced with the problem solving and the customer's transformation, you immediately put our brains into the yes, no, that makes sense, that fits, that doesn't fit. And we are starting in a yes, no mode. And at that point, as a business, you can only pray that you've convinced them so that they're in the yes column. But if someone falls into that no column, they are usually a hard no. And so it's hard to get someone from a hard no into a yes space. It's much easier to get someone into a, hey, this is interesting. I sort of see this connection. I'm not quite sure, but I'm definitely going to sort of hang around and sort of see what happens. It's way easier to move that person into the yes column, right? So that's how we always want to think about our marketing. Features too are not proprietary. I could say, I can do all these things, website development, branding, customer, whatever it is. I could have a whole list of services, but anyone else can say and offer the same thing. So they're not proprietary, but how I deliver and how I make people feel, that's completely proprietary, right? So that's where I want to focus then. Features are important. Expertise and skills are important, but we always want to connect not only the minds, but also the hearts of our customer. And so how we do that is really focus on the transformation. So there are 2 ways that we look at like the customer experience from a marketing perspective. Number 1 is the functional benefits. What does someone physically get? The tangible things that they get when they work with you. So for instance, when someone works with me in my agency, they might get a logo, they'll get brand identity, they'll get a website, maybe they'll get a brochure, maybe we'll do a billboard, right? Those are tangible things that my customers get, right? They get graphic design services. But how my customers feel is really, it's like that quote, people won't remember what you say, but they'll remember how you feel. So you want to think about, how do I make my customers feel, or how do people feel when they work with me? And so I always like to make a list first of all the tangible things that someone gets when they work with you. Again, branding, like in coaching services, consultation, business strategy, whatever those things are, right? Those are really, really critically important. But then I want you to focus on the transformation. Then how does someone feel working with you? And really think about your client and think about what's going on in her life right now, and what are her aspirations and her hopes, and how does she want her life to be? But like, what's getting in the way of that? And then where is she as a result of that? And then this is a big one. This one right here is, a lot of people don't think about this. What is the trigger that brings someone into the market, right? Like you want to make sure that when all of this stuff, my hopes and dreams, my obstacles, that all happens before someone gets into the market looking for a solution. And you want your marketing, I almost envision it like being, like a catcher in a baseball game, that you just want to be able to like catch that person and be ready for them when they come to your marketing. So the more that you can speak directly to your customers, and the more that you can speak to their aspirations and their obstacles and how you can help them achieve their aspirations, that is going to connect with them emotionally. And emotional buyers, like emotion is what drives action. Reason drives conclusion. Emotion drives action. It's one of my favorite quotes. So then you're going to be able to understand what is the big payoff of working with you. And so this is the transformation that you want to make sure is present in your marketing. And here's my quote: reason leads to conclusion, emotion leads to actions. You want to have a good combination of both, a little bit tipping the scales to the emotion side of things. Mistake number 5, I see this all the time. People improvise their marketing. They do not have a long game for their marketing, and they literally do it step by step by step. This is when people are taking action, but they are not seeing traction. They might get lucky every so often, but it's not sustainable. I'm going to tell you right now, no one is ever successful in marketing by winging it. It just does not work that way. Again, you might get lucky, but it usually is never sustainable. Oftentimes people are not looking at the right metrics to understand whether or not their marketing is working or not. Oftentimes they're just not even looking at metrics or don't even know where to start. It's just such an interesting human condition that people try to fix what's not working. I see this over and over and over again in my online community. Something's not working. As a marketing person, I'm like, your customers in the market are telling you this is not working. Like, let's look at what is working and do more of that. Remember, going all the way back to number 1 or number 2. And so this is, it's just, they're just emotionally invested in it. They don't have a long game strategy. So they just keep on trying and keep on trying and keep on trying. I've seen people literally blow tens of thousands of dollars. Talk about breaking my heart. And that's why it can be very, very pricey. So the fix is, you just have to know the customer journey, right? Marketing planning gets a bad rap. I don't know why, because we plan so many things. We write a grocery list, we read recipes, we check out a GPS before we go to a different part of town, but we're going to market our business without even a GPS, like little tiny map of just to that next step of where we want to go. It just does not work that way. So I like to think about it in terms of the customer journey, because oftentimes we find overlooked touch points that are already happening in our business with our customers, and we can start leveraging those for marketing. So I like to write down every single touch point that I have with a customer from that initial point of inquiry. Then what are those different touch points? Maybe they sign up for an email list, then they're going to get my email. Maybe we're going to meet on a Zoom call together. Maybe they're going to be part of a coaching call. Maybe they'll be part of a challenge that I'm offering, right? What are all those different places that someone is going to have interaction with me and my business? And then how do I want them to experience my brand at that touch point? And then this is so key. What do I want them to do? So people move through, we do a lot of customer journey work, and people move through a very predictable buying pattern when they're shopping. Sometimes it's really fast. You're just deciding, oh, I'm going to go grab lunch really fast, and you're deciding between a few restaurants. Sometimes it takes longer. You're buying a house or a car or something that's a bigger price point that just requires more thought. But you always want to be thoughtful about, what do I want someone to do? You ultimately want to move someone down that transaction path so they buy. So if someone's starting at the very beginning and they're getting your email, like let's say they're getting an email from you, what do I want them to do when I get this email? I want them to click on this link to download this resource that I created for them. Awesome. What do you want them to do when they download that resource? Oh, I would love it if they came back and like did some, wrote me a Facebook review on this. And, so you can start to think about then, okay, now if I want them to come back and, write this or, share it with their friends, now I know I need to add in a little bit of marketing to make sure that I make it easy to share on social media and easy to share with friends. So customer journey is just a very, very powerful way to really understand those different interaction points you have with your customer, and it clearly lays out that path to purchase. So just remember here, good marketing is never improvised, like never, ever, 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 ever. I think my point's been made. Last but not least, they go it alone, right? And this is when they spend months, sometimes years, trying to figure out their business on their own. I was definitely one of these people. For 2 years, I tried to figure out my online business on my own until I found a community. And what's risky about that is that you are on your own. You miss chances to be mentored and supported and cheered on, which is just the best. You miss out on best practices and accountability by people who might have been there before you, who might know a little bit more than you do at this point right now, which is sort of a humbling place to be, but also one that's very powerful and empowering when you lean on the supportive wisdom of other people. And it always usually takes more time, right? It took me 2 years to really figure out that I needed to find a community, and I needed additional resources to really help me get my business to where I wanted to go. So The fix here is to find a community and then just be open and present and open to that support that you're going to receive from that community. Give love back, and again, be as present, like, right, it's a total give and take. There are so many amazing, like, free Facebook groups. There are paid memberships. Local networking is a great thing. I know that Zoom, people are just like zooming everywhere around this world today too. So there's so many interesting ways to network and connect with people. I mean, think about just how there are people from around the world on this call right now. Like, that's absolutely crazy. Like, I should change this, like, local and international. I'm going to change this to global networking, actually. Like, that's pretty amazing. So there are always resources. There's always going to be a community. The fact that you're part of this community and Open for Business Labs is just an amazing thing. And so I just think the moral of the story is business it's just better with friends. This is the way it is. So you made it to the end. 5, but I called an audible for the 6 mistakes I see most people making all the time. And these are the kind of mistakes that hold people back in their business. They're the kind of mistakes that cost time, money, and morale. And it's just, today, Patricia and I were just talking about just how we want to have good energy and not stress in our business, because we do better work when we work under that way. And so that's what this is all designed to do. So you now know how to avoid the 6 marketing mistakes. Number 1, have a long game. Make sure, avoid shiny object syndrome. Make sure everything you're doing in your marketing is connected to some sort of business goal. If it's not, I would really reconsider, I would figure out how you can connect it to something. And if you can't, then I would just stop doing it, right? If it's not working for you, then let it go and then find out what's working and do more of that. Number 2 is to untap and find your authentic voice. And you can do that by videotaping yourself. Do it for a month straight and really get a sense of your voice. Transcribe those things, transcribe your videos in Descript, and you're going to start to get a sense of how you talk, how you show up, things that you say, your little taglines, your little colloquialisms. You'll have such a good sense of your voice after that exercise. 3, don't discount. Please don't discount, price on your value, and then deliver that value and then add more value. Just remember, when it comes to purchase, to connect with the hearts and minds of your customer, because emotion leads to action. You want to make sure that there's a good balance. And then remember the customer's journey to really help determine what marketing tactics are going to take people and sort of nudge them. Like, I always tell my clients, like, I just want to nudge your customers to that next step on the customer journey until they're actually to purchase, right? And then you also want to think about what happens after purchase, because those people are largely abandoned. And then join a community. And with that, you guys, those are the 6. So I would love to open it up for any questions. And then Patricia, I do have a free gift for this crew too, but I didn't prepare a slide for it. So I don't have anything fancy to show.
We'll send it in the video replays and in email as well. So,
oh, awesome. Okay, so the free gift is, so what did I said at the very beginning, the most important part, foundational to everything, is understanding your brand value. And so I put together a awesome video course. I do this with my clients. I have a course, paid course, that this is a component of one of the modules, but I wanted to make it available to you because it is it is how to create, well, I call it brand basics for savvy and scrappy startups, but it's going to help you understand all of those great components of your brand. Who you want to serve, how you uniquely create value, how you're different from the competition, why people should care, and the ultimate payoff of working with you. There's a super fun exercise in it that gives you, it's so fun. You literally answer questions and you take the answers and you fill in the blanks. We call it a Mad Lib. I'm not sure if everyone on the call is familiar with that, where you fill in the blanks with words, and you will have a brand positioning statement at the end of it that is so rock solid. You could share it with someone right away and they would have such an immediate sense of who you are, who you work with, how you're different, how you create value, and the ultimate payoff of working with you. So, and that's my free gift. Brand basics.
Wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm going to share it on, okay, there it is. So does anyone have any questions for Heather right now?
Someone said, I can tell you why people don't want to use marketing strategies. Why is that?
Well, I was trying to find your brand basics for savvy and scrappy startups.
Oh, here, I can pop that in. I can also pop that in. I have it.
Okay. I'll just email it to everybody and, and put it in the video replay as well. So.
Oh, awesome.
But this is a great mini course. I'm definitely going to take it myself. So let me see. We have some questions here. What essentials, and I have a question from Patrice, I'll get to that. And what essentials would you say a conversion-focused website has?
The essentials that a conversion-focused website has is there's a clear construct. Oh, this is such a good question because I'm actually, we were just talking about it. I hate ugly websites. So, and I don't think anyone has to have one. So a couple of things is that you want to be able to give people lots of different opportunities for them to be able to search on their own terms. So if you think about a really good, I think a good homepage of a website is one of those really long scrolling pages where you have that immediate context. So you'll see on the top of a website, it's like a big header image or a big headline. And the purpose of that is where you immediately communicate the transformation and you want people to feel like, oh, I'm in the right place, right? Someone has like a second, it used to be like you had 9 seconds to make a first impression. Then it was 6. And now I think it's actually 4 seconds, which is so crazy. So to get someone to stay on your website longer than 4 seconds, you want to be able to give them. So think about even when you land on a website, you sort of get there and you're just like, all right, where do I go? So you want to make sure, first of all, that someone feels, and I'm focusing on this because this usually takes up the vast majority of the screen. And more, oh my gosh, I can't even tell you. More and more people are using these to access websites. So I work with a lot of apartment developers, so a lot of people in the apartment industry. And it used to be, I don't know, about 40% desktop, 40% mobile, 60%, 40% mobile, 60% desktop. Now it's like 80% mobile. So you have to make sure, number one, that your website is optimized for mobile. But then you want to make sure that your menu is super easy to navigate so people know exactly what you have to offer. And then when you start to move down the page, I like to do what I call engagement speed bumps because people can't unsee what they've seen. And website visitors will fall into 2 camps. There are visual browsers who will look at images. Think about someone who's on an iPad, just sort of scrolling. They're looking at images, they're grabbing headlines, they're looking at buttons, but they're not really spending a ton of time with the content. Then about another half of people really sit down and they read the content. So this is why that next section is an introduction, again, a reiteration of, hi, you are in the right place. I just want to let you know a little bit more about what I do. And then I always love to have my first calls to action. And this is, again, what I call an engagement speed bump, because right here, I love to set up 2 or 3 different places people can go. It's another page on my website, maybe to my social media profile. If I'm doing opt-ins or I'm doing a lead magnet or something along those lines, I can set up 3 lead magnets. Someone was in my course who said, I've never even thought to put my lead magnets on my homepage of my website like this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, let's totally do it. And the reason is because now you're showing people 3 different things. You can't unsee what you've seen. Even if they only click into one or they don't click into any, they've seen it. So you're giving them a full spectrum of what they're offering. Then I like to, include something like a little quote, a testimonial, something that helps to give you a little bit of social proof. I personally love it when it's my mission or my mission or vision or something like that, that really helps to convey the sense of my business. Then there could be a little bio, a little short bio that leads to a larger about page. And then this is key, is at the very bottom of your page, and this is above the footer, just always remember no dead ends, ever, ever, ever. A page should never have a dead end. You should never get to the bottom of the page and not be able to take action. So on virtually every single website we create in my agency, there's always going to be some sort of call to action, to contact, to download something, to opt into a list or something like that. So we're constantly creating opportunities for people to engage. And the way that and the reason we like to use a lot of buttons and links on this homepage is that when Google is looking to serve, someone's looking, say business, I'm looking for a business design coach like Patricia, Google's going to decide which websites are going to be worthy of me recommending. I want to make sure that this person has a good experience. And the way that Google looks, or search engines in general, look at sort of that engagement, is they're going to look to see how many pages does someone view, how many clicks do they make, do they visit other pages, how long are they on the site, do they come back like later that month? Like those are things that then helps to give you relevancy. So even if you're not doing a lot of like sophisticated search engine optimization work, so just make sure that you have lots of calls to action, lots of white space in between sections. Because again, think about someone's looking at this on their phone. So you're going to see like these nice like sections, you know, so, and then always make sure, always, that you check your website on your phone. Like absolutely 100%.
So I've seen websites, including my own design. Now there's people who are going to create a website for you. They are website designer, but they're not marketer.
No, yes.
And I've spent so much money on website by someone who had no idea of marketing. They don't think through the process, the branding and the services that you provide and the call to action. They just create a website. It's just a page, right? And
right.
The page is connected together, but it doesn't do anything in terms of converting these visitors into customers, right?
Exactly.
Because they don't think in terms of branding, brand identity, and conversion as well.
So right. It's even worse when someone hires like a website programmer to do their website design.
Yes.
Like then I'm just like, oh no. Then they're like, yeah.
That's how we used to do it, right? In the 90s and 2000 when we first had websites, right? It was just very functional, but not really useful. So that's something to really distinguish. When you're going to pick a website designer, make sure that they understand the concept of marketing, branding, and your positioning in general.
Yes, it is. That is such a good point, because, and then people will sometimes think too, I see a lot of providers who are like, I can do marketing, but if that website designer really does not, because they think that they should be able to also know marketing, or they're looking to see what someone else did as well. So always make sure if you're looking at your website provider that you're very, very clear on the performance goals of the website, and it will be abundantly clear if that person is a little in over their heads.
All right. So we have a question. Any other question? We have a question from Patrice who says, how can I simplify my social media so I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook reaching my people? I have a private Facebook group doing the training weekly. Is there a way to post on Facebook and have it automatically go to LinkedIn and vice versa? I use Zapier and grabs the business post from Facebook, but the format isn't preserved and often shows half the image from the Facebook post.
Yeah, you might want to use a platform. There are some social posting tools. I use one called Hootsuite, and I like that just because it's free for up to 3 channels. So if you're just doing Facebook and LinkedIn, and then the thing you can do is you can have both of your profiles there. So instead of posting natively to LinkedIn and to Facebook, you can just go to Hootsuite and post at the same time. You're not going to be able to automatically, like Facebook and Instagram allow some cross-posting because Facebook owns Instagram. Google and YouTube allow cross-posting because Google owns YouTube. But those platforms often do not play nicely with each other because they're fundamentally, and this is the big secret about also social media, is they make us think that they're these social connecting companies, and they're not. They're advertising platforms that trick us into thinking that they're these social platforms. And so they're just absolutely cutthroat competitive against each other. But use like it. So I would just, and then I would start to evaluate to see where do you get the best engagement on your posts too, because you can use LinkedIn to get people over to your Facebook group. You can get Facebook to get people over to your LinkedIn group too. So cross-pollinate as much as you can too, because I do a lot of Facebook lives, and for instance, LinkedIn, you're able to do lives on LinkedIn, but you have to get approved. Like, I'm not sure what their vetting process is like.
Right.
So then I can take my Facebook live video, I can actually download it and then upload it to LinkedIn. So it's part of my profile as well. So you can always, so think about how you can, if you're doing something on LinkedIn, think about how can I get this over to Facebook? If I can do this on Facebook, how can I get, you know what I mean? Like, how can I make sure that it's also on LinkedIn? Right. Rarely do people will go to their social channels. LinkedIn is really obviously for business and networking. Facebook is a great platform. People are looking for information there, they sort of expect to be sold there too, with like programs and courses and resources as well. They've been conditioned, but it is a really specific demographic. So I'd be interested in knowing what kind of traction and engagement, or who your target audience is, or who you typically work with too. Facebook tends to skew a little more female too, a little more people who are active on the platform and curate a lot of content are, you know, late 30s to mid 50s too. So it's a really interesting demographic. The key is that all social channels are created differently. They're all slightly different too.
As Patrice said earlier, can you tell why people don't want to use marketing strategies?
I think number one, that they just don't know how marketing as an actual art and deliver, like what it looks like. We see the end product of everything. Like think about, oh my gosh, just even think about photo filters we have on Facebook now that you can just look, just like with a couple of taps. My sister is like the most famous for doing that. Like just, she looks so artificial. So we see this end product, and I think a lot of times people just don't know what goes into it. And then when they don't have the construct of how do I stand out in the marketplace? Who do I want to serve? And what's my product and pricing lineup, right? Because that's why the sequence is so important. You have to know your competitive advantages and where you have to know how you stand out in the marketplace, number one. Like that's just so key. Then who do I invite into my business? Who do I want to serve? How do I uniquely serve them? And then you want to have your product and pricing lineup all lined up. If you don't have that like really clearly articulated, someone might have a product, but not premium pricing, you know what I mean? Then they're just like, oh God, because now they're like, they've jumped in and they're just treading water, and they're just like, I don't even know how to get out of this. When really they just need to like, just take a couple steps back, get to the place where they can stand in the water, and then make their way into the deep end, you know, too. So I think it's that. I think people don't know where to start. I do think that people start marketing too soon. Like they'll have a business idea. They're like, oh, I'm going to do my website. And I'm like, you can, but it's so much better if you know your brand, your customers, and you have your product and pricing. So yeah, I wish I knew. That's like the eternal question.
One thing that I've noticed too, and I've been guilty of it, is that we tend to think that we don't need marketing because we think we're going to market to everyone. When in fact,
right.
Successful, you need to market to the exact most ideal customer you want in your business.
Exactly.
And in order to do that, it requires marketing strategy. You can't
absolutely.
So if you think, you know, you can just cast a large net and you're going to catch customers that way, then, you know, maybe you don't think that marketing is important. But really the essence of marketing is to bring the right customers to your doorstep so you can offer them value.
And to give you the disciplines, that is like one of the biggest, that is a big mistake, is that they just cast too wide of a marketing net. And like when I worked at these huge companies, like really big national companies, highly consumer driven, we did a lot of markets. They call it market segmentation. It's, I like the guys who put it together. It's like, you can get super geeky with it. I love it. But we had 8 personas, like, and that's like multi-billion-dollar national companies. So when I work with businesses, we usually start with 3, because everyone, and the beauty of that is too, is that you're able to, like, if I'm talking to someone at the beginning stages of building their business, I'm going to talk to someone differently who's in the middle stages versus someone who's more, you know, more advanced. But my process is the same. My philosophy is the same. That doesn't change. How I work with someone in a branding capacity who's a bigger company might be different than an entrepreneur, but the process is the same. You know what I mean? Like I use the same process. So it's, yeah, it is. It is just so interesting how.
So Patrice is saying first of all, she says her market is people who are in 30s and up and looking to change career. And
yeah.
So that's her market.
Facebook would be good for you. Yeah.
Right. And then she says there's a psychological reason people don't want to use marketing. She's a psychologist, so happy to think about that, Heather, if you'd like to use some of those buzzwords in your copy, she said.
I would love that. Yeah, can we unmute her?
I know, let me
to
try.
have her. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm so Patrice.
Hi there, Heather. Hey,
Hi.
we connected on LinkedIn too, so thank you.
Oh, hey, awesome.
You're wonderful. The information is priceless, and you really
thank you.
You chunk it down really well. So let me tell you why. I think people in different industries have different whys, okay? But in my industry, so think of your gal who's the therapist.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a therapist turned consultant, coach, mentor, blah blah blah.
Mm.
So I've moved away from the insurance companies. There's a lot of regulations with insurance. So if your gal, the therapist, is still connected to insurance, she should talk to me because I can help her with there's regulations. But anyway,
right.
Here's the why for people in the helping profession. The why is first of all, we have what we call like unconscious incompetence. And you already hit on this. We don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
So what we think is again, we're helpers, and we know our value, that we're so good at what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And in the old days, we would just sit in our offices and, actually insurance companies would send our people, right? Now, most of us have become, who are, doing what I'm doing, we're now in, disconnected from insurance, and now we have to market. Okay. So number one, the first thing is, again, and you could put this in your buzzword, we're pissed off. We're pissed off that we have to market. Okay. Because we are experts, as many people are in,
right.
Carpenter is an expert carpenter. Does he want to, move over and put his marketing hat on? No, right? So that's the first thing. So you could really speak to that,
Oh, I love that.
Right?
Like I am.
Yes. You're an expert at what you do. And the truth is you're kicking and screaming about this marketing because, let's face it, that is not what you want to be doing. But if you don't, and if you don't get support around that, you will be the best kept secret ever.
Right. That's terrible.
Oh my gosh.
I wanted to add to this that you bring a very good point, Patrice. There's some fundamental ethic issues in some professions.
Yes.
I'm thinking of dentists or doctors or
Yes.
therapists or lawyers even.
Yes.
They almost think that marketing yourself is unethical.
Right.
Right. So there's this barrier on top of it. So if you own a restaurant, you know that you have to market yourself. It's a given. But in these professions, there is this sort of old-fashioned,
yes,
thinking that if you have to market yourself, that means you're not that good.
Right. Exactly. Advertising was a dirty word. It was always a dirty word in quote unquote the helping profession. Okay, so you can even use that as a tagline,
Yeah.
You shy away from marketing because, it feels dirty. It feels greasy. It feels like you don't want that. I know a lot of talented people who aren't getting traction in their business. And it took me a long time to put on my businesswoman hat, right?
Right.
And I'm an expert writer and I can get to the heart of the issue. So I'd be a great marketer, but that pisses me off that I have to do that part, right? But I finally put on my hat that said, you know what, you're not marketing. Every time you reach out, you're helping. Because I have a newsletter and Patricia's on my list.
Yeah, I love your newsletters.
Everything I send is really valuable.
Right.
What does he call it? Content marketing? They call it content marketing, right? In your field. Because I am giving content that is, like, I wrote one something about find the control booth. I know where the control booth is for your motivation. Well, that grabbed everybody. I had a 25% open rate.
Oh my God, I love that.
Right?
Awesome.
Because people are like, oh, Patrice knows where the control booth is for my motivation. So I always give a gem, a nugget. But I could not get there until I transformed my mind from marketing to this is the helping. You are helping
I love that.
right?
Yeah.
So if they could just take the word marketing and sales and say, how can I help people find me and take the next step?
Now, here's another thing too. I've experienced with my clients who want to start a business and then become business owners is the tendency for once you're an expert in an area to only focus on that expertise, like you were mentioning, right? You're an expert psychotherapist or lawyer or even like one of my clients had a spa. Now, I used to own a spa for 20 some years. So she hired me to help her grow her business, right? And what happened is that she's such an excellent therapist, technician, that she would spend all her time working in her spa as a technician, working in the business as a producer, not as a business owner. So you need to get your head as a business owner. Many times they have to get their head out of being a technician, a revenue producer, and becoming the leader and owner of that business by attending to all these other branches that the business needs attention to. Not one of them being marketing, the others is finance and accounting and HR and all these other areas that you have to get out of working in your business as a producer to becoming a leader working on the business, which is the biggest strategy of running the operations. And people have not made the mental switch when they become business, when they go from being an employee to becoming a business owner. They don't make that mental switch of becoming the leader of the business as opposed to the producer and the technician. There's nothing wrong with being a producer and technician, but if you own the business, you don't have that luxury.
Well, the marketing also could be like your my zone of genius is delivering my service, right?
Yeah.
My zone of genius is
I think
not
it might
marketing.
also be in your email. It might be in your email subject lines too.
Right.
I'm just going to say, like, you're also like, you said you're a good writer and
I mean,
I can tell.
Yeah. I mean, that's my forte is reaching inside the mind of people, right? So I can do that through writing. I can do that through speaking. But here's what Patricia, I am totally with you, Patricia. A lot of people are you're good at what you're good at, and you don't want to put the marketing hat on. So I think one of your presentations, Heather, could be, you either put the marketing hat on or you hire an expert. And either way, if you don't do one of those two things, forget about it.
Yeah.
So that is.
Oh my gosh,
really,
it is. It's sort of like put on your big girl pants and
Exactly.
do your marketing, right? Is really what I'm hearing. But this, I have like a whole page of notes to scribble. Patrice.
Yeah.
That's some serious gold right there.
Well, you've given us really some serious gold today. I love your presentation.
Thank you.
I have a question for, let's say you just start a business, right? A restaurant or, how do you identify, I know you have a process for people to identify their brand identity, because you can't just be like everybody else. You need to find a way to stand out, whether it's in your vision. How do you figure out when you're brand new?
One of the things that we do is I have like when I work with my clients, I have like a brand discovery questionnaire that really helps. It's one of these things, like I use it in my agency, but it usually, like, people really love it because it just helps you start thinking. It helps just because you would know exactly sort of where I'm going, like if we were working together, like what kind of information I'm looking for, but it really helps to set up sort of the marketing construct for your business. So the places where I start is really evaluating what are the overall business goals. Then we start to understand, like, really what is that when I'm working with a company or an individual, really what are those, like, why are you in the business to begin with, right? People love that idea, like Simon. Simon the big why, right? So I spend some time doing that, but then I start to, and then I'll meet with clients, right? So if it's someone who works with people, I'll talk to them. If it's a property owner, I'll go out and I'll visit the properties. If it's a store, I'll go shop at the store. And then I take a look at the competition. So this is a key place. And a lot of people do not feel comfortable doing this, like looking to see who's even in this space, but it is so full of gold, because what you're trying to do is then to differentiate from that. I just have a couple of friends who I've done marketing with or coaching with who happen to be estheticians. And in that line of work, it is so grossly predictable, like what people are going to be showing and looking. It's such a huge opportunity for differentiation. So that's where we start to look, is how can we start to separate either in the look and feel, obviously, of the brand, of the website. Because again, think about these initial impressions that, like, I have a friend who is in our online community who copied the look and feel of a website that she liked in a similar business, to the point that when she was navigating between the competitor's website and her website, I honestly could not tell the difference. And I'm like, that's going to be a problem, because you've over emulated because you really loved what this other person was doing, but now you're not even creating this sense of differentiation. And so then once you're clear on how I'm different in the market, then we always do a little persona profile work, where we start to really dig into those customer personas. And then that usually helps to give you enough, because then you know, how am I different? How do I uniquely create this value? Who do I want to serve? And then that's when you can start to get really strategic and serious about your product and services lineup, because now you can make sure that all of those things are aligned. So having those two big components, then we'll do like the brand positioning statement. Is the two components that we go into our brand are having your mission, of clearly articulated mission and vision. And you have to have a really good brand positioning statement. Both of these are internally focused. Oftentimes your mission will have an external component, but your brand statement is so important. That's what's included in this training, is that you get to a brand positioning statement. Does that answer your question? Because I can go so deep and strategic too, so I'm so sorry.
Well, thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, I want to give a huge shout out to Patrice. Like, I feel like thank you, Patricia. And thank you, Patrice.
Thank you very much. Appreciate great stuff. Thank you. Awesome. We get awesome. Heather, wonderful. Thank you, Heather and Patricia. Great stuff from everybody. Very inspiring, valuable. Yeah, it's a great feedback. Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Heather, for being here today.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. I wish can we do this every Saturday? I'll take up your every Saturday slot.
Okay. Yes. That would be fun. And so what's going to happen now is I'm going to edit this, put some captions, use this script like you mentioned.
Oh, perfect. It's the best.
And then send it to everybody so they can watch it at their leisure. And also, we'll put the link to your free offer, your free gift to people who are interested and they want to continue on. If they want to work with you, how do they get a hold of you?
I popped in the link into the chat for the brand basics training. And yes. So you will be navigating right over to my website. So that is a really good place to get in touch with me. Yeah, perfect. Definitely.
So I'll post this. It's in the chat. So I'll also send it by email. So we'll
awesome.
Go up. And thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk shop this morning. And I loved all the interaction. And Patrice, thank you so much. That is really insightful. And you've been able to articulate something that I have felt is there. And now I love being able to have words around it. This idea, they're pissed off that they have to market. Yeah. I never thought of it that way. I knew that there was something getting in the way, but now this will be fun to play around with, and I get to swear a little bit. So that also makes it's also a little fun.
Thank you so much again.
Oh, thank you so much, everyone. Have a beautiful weekend.